my name's Camilla, and in this video we're gonna go through things I think you might regret buying this winter. Reasons for not wanting to make purchases that you regret are kinda obvious. You're wasting money, and also that's not really environmentally friendly if you're just gonna get rid of the things you bought. So for that reason, it's important to think about the things we buy before we buy them. And I just want to preface this that any items mentioned in this video are just my opinion, what I've made mistakes with before, things that might be helpful. I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. You can buy whatever you want, but I hope maybe here are some helpful tips. And the second point before I actually start with my list, I live in a country with a proper winter, so that means snow, -degrees, really cold weather. So most of the things that I'm gonna go through apply for that kind of environment. So if you're spending your winter in, like, I don't know, Australia, these will not be very relevant to your experience. Some of them might be, but a lot of them maybe not. So keep that in mind when I'm talking about these things. So without further ado, drum roll please. First thing, I have jackets and coats. Of course, if you live in a cold area like me, you're gonna need coats for winter, or at least one. So you should definitely get that. But what you might regret is if you buy multiple ones. And with that, basically what I mean is if you buy a coat for a specific outfit, but then you don't really have anything else to wear it with except that one really cute outfit, that coat's kind of pointless because you're gonna wear it like once or twice with that outfit, and then it's gonna just sit in your closet taking space. So try to find jackets that fit multiple things in your wardrobe, or you can imagine wearing with a lot of different outfits. My second point about coats is getting practical coats. And I know that's annoying. I'm a fashion girly. Like, I want my jackets to look good, my outfits to look good, but in a climate, for example, where I live, a lot of cute jackets are just not practical because they're too cold or can't handle rain, stuff like that. So I can't really wear them, and usually very like fancy coats also tend to be those one outfit kind of coats that you can't use a lot. So they kind of just end up sitting there, and even though they're really cute and you love them, they're kind of pointless. Overall, when buying like outerwear for winter, I think you need to find something that works with a lot of your outfits and also is warm enough, can stand the rain or whatever weather conditions you're facing. Personally, like in winter, I wear a long puffer jacket that kind of looks like a sleeping bag with a hood and everything, because I used to wear a lot of wool type of coats. But the problem is, wind goes through, I get cold, and it rains a lot and snows a lot, so I want like a hood to cover my hair and face and like protect myself from the weather. So like, I think my winter jacket is ugly, but unfortunately it's kinda what I have to do because I don't want to get cold and sick and whatever. And also the bad weather just ruins the coats that I actually love, so kinda pointless all around. So try to find something weather appropriate and warm and transformable that works with a lot of things. And keeping in the topic of outerwear, I think also when you're buying hats, gloves, stuff like that, also you have to take the weather into account. For me, in where I live. This means getting maybe leather gloves. I find most other gloves let wind through too much and my fingers get cold. This means finding hats that cover your ears and are warm, but also something important with hats, find stuff that's not itchy or like too warm, because you don't want your head to sweat all the time or you to have to like scratch all the time because it's too itchy. You have to look for like quality things and things that work for you, more importantly. I find it's easier to find like stylish options for these than maybe jackets. But anyway, and also like if you live in a warmer climate, then you're probably not gonna need thick beanie, even though it looks cute maybe in your outfit, because you're just gonna sweat, and that, why would you do that to yourself? Next item on my list is sweaters, any kind of knits, stuff like that. These are like a winter essential, of course, and you're gonna wanna probably own 1, 2, maybe 3, however many you think you need. But with that, I find a lot of people collect very similar kinds of knits, for example, with just tiny little details that make them apart. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have like a favorite of those that gets worn more than the others, and the others sit in your closet. And also you don't really need multiples of the same item if it fills the same purpose, is the same color, unless it's your like favorite color you wear every day and you don't want to wear any other color. And also like thinking your entire sweater collection, you don't probably need a ton of different colors, and you don't need to buy new sweaters just because it's like a new trendy color. You probably have certain colors you're drawn to that you wear all the time, and it's good to have sweaters in those colors, but you don't really then need like what's trendy, butter yellow, just because it's trendy and you're gonna wear it for 2 weeks because it's new, and then it's just gonna sit there because it's not a color you really wear. And also the same applies here to the sweaters, knits, whatever that went with the hats before. So look for materials that are good and aren't itchy. Again, weather appropriate and good materials, because a lot of sweaters may look warm but they're made of like plastics and they're not actually gonna keep you warm. Either they're too thin or they're too thick and they're not breathable, so you sweat a lot, so that actually gets you cold and also uncomfortable. Look for materials, probably like natural fibers are good, but I mean, what works for you, look for those. And a lot of people like wool for a reason. It's warm and it's natural fiber. I unfortunately am allergic to wool, so I can't use those. They give me a rash and they're so itchy. But if that works for you, then definitely try that. But also with materials like wool, even if you're not allergic, sometimes they can be itchy. So I recommend for these types of items to go try them on, or at least if you're wanting to order online and you don't have a physical location to try them, go try something that's similar in a charity shop or a shop, something similar, so you can get an idea of how the material is if you're not familiar before, if that's a good material, so you don't order something and then realize that the material absolutely does not work for you, so it was an unnecessary purchase and you'll have to put it on secondhand market, or worse, it's just gonna sit in your closet. And again, like, try to find these items that benefit your style and look like you. Don't buy a new sweater because it's trendy, or the cut is trendy, or the color is trendy. Try to find like long-lasting pieces that are your style and fit in your closet and you think you can wear for years and years, so you don't have to go and buy a new sweater every year. My next point we have basically covered already with the other ones, but overall, weather appropriate clothing. I love, for example, looking up looks inspo on Pinterest. Usually if I look for winter outfits, they're, for where I live, maybe passable as early autumn outfits. They're like tights, miniskirt, sweater, boots. A really cute outfit. Definitely cannot wear it during the winter here. Like, I need layers and a thick jacket and stuff. I'm gonna get cold. And personally, I don't recommend being uncomfortable for the sake of fashion. I'm sure you can do compromises to still keep your look cool and be comfortable. Because, like, how often are you really gonna wear an outfit that makes you feel uncomfortable or cold or whatever? Like, try to build a wardrobe that works for the climate you're in and the area that you're in. When you're looking for inspo for your winter outfits or any outfits really, you have to take into account the climate you live in and if it's possible to wear where you live. Like, definitely someone living in, I don't know, Southern Europe doesn't need the same kind of winter clothes that I do. And then vice versa, I can't wear the winter outfits, or like I can, but I'll be cold and it's just gonna be uncomfortable. Try to build a wardrobe that works for the climate you're in and the area that you're in, so you will more likely buy things that you're gonna use and will stay with you for a long time. Then one thing I wanna point out, a lot of people don't want to wear leather for like, because they're vegan, they don't want like to harm animals, whatever. Completely understand, and that's a really valid point. You don't have to wear leather, and I personally only really buy leather used for the exact reason that I don't really want to support killing animals. If you are someone who doesn't like to wear leather or use leather items, I would not replace it with false leather, or sometimes called vegan leather, I think, because what false leather is plastic, so that's not gonna last long time, and so that's obviously bad for the environment, and it really doesn't have the same like properties as leather. Like I mentioned before, I want to wear often leather gloves in the winter because I just find they're the warmest. But if I bought false leather ones, they don't have the same properties, they can't keep you as warm. And what happens in climates like where I live, where it gets moist, it gets really cold, there's a lot of temperatures changes, the leather cracks, it crumbles, falls off if it's false leather. I think overall a false leather item maybe lasts 3 to 5 years. For me, here, not even a year. Like just a few times going outside, coming back inside, and it's crumbling, it's gone, can't be used anymore. So definitely look for other alternatives for leather than like leather, because that's not gonna last. It's bad for the environment that you make clothes out of plastic that are gonna maybe last a year, you know? Either don't wear things that look like leather, or I don't know really what could be a good alternative. Maybe also look into buying used leather if that's okay with you, or you can just like not use things that look like leather. That's an option. And another thing I think people don't know to look for as much, to not buy if you live in a cold winter climate like me, is what type of makeup you buy. Because in my teens I definitely struggled a lot with my makeup looking crusty and crumbly during winter, and then I found out the reason was that my foundation was water-based. So when I went outside, it would kind of freeze, it would kind of start doing its own thing, and it would look bad. If you also live in a very cold climate, maybe avoid water-based makeup, because it's gonna freeze, you know, and it's gonna look bad. But I've also noticed a lot of other makeup that doesn't maybe work in a climate like this. It doesn't go bad on my face. But if you're someone that carries makeup with you, I have ruined a couple lipsticks taking them with in my bag. They have maybe frozen, or I don't know if it's the temperature changes. I'm not an expert, but then when I go back inside, it's become kind of like chalky, really unusable. If you struggle with your makeup during winter, that might be why. It might be water-based or whatever, so definitely look into that. And if you can swap for an alternative that's not water-based or can handle the changes in temperature, saves you a lot of money and frustration, I'm sure. At this point, I think the next one's really random. It's a car. You probably don't need to buy a car. Obviously, a lot of people need a car to move around, and in winter times especially, you might want your own car, so you get to spend minimal time outside when it's cold and terrible. But what I mean by this, a lot of people buy cars during the summer or warmer months, and you might overlook the things you need in a car if you also are gonna drive it in a cold, snowy environment. There are definitely cars that I think are summer cars, and I would not drive them during the winter. This goes especially to people who buy cars for the first time, so they might not take all these things into account because they don't have the experience. But if you drive your car during winter and snow and ice, you're gonna need good tires. I would recommend a 4-wheel drive, maybe bigger, more steady cars, very cheap, maybe like, I don't know, Toyota I had, that was very cheap. It did not warm up on the inside during the winter, which isn't necessarily a problem, but if you want the comfort of your car being warm, then you might want to invest into more like SUV type of car or newer, more advanced car. You also have to think that if you're using your car during winter, you have to scrape the ice of it and snow of it, and if that's like something you want to do or have the time to do every day. I'm not an expert in cars, so I don't really have a recommendation what car you should buy or shouldn't buy, but basically if you're buying your car when it's not winter, then definitely try to think what things you need your car to do during winter also. So you probably don't want like a tiny little roofless car if you're gonna drive it also in a snowstorm. Getting back to the fashion side of things, one more thing I have in mind is slippery shoes. Basically, kind of obvious why you wouldn't want them. The roads are icy, you're gonna fall if you have slippery shoes. Like, I don't really wear heels during winter just because, like, I love heels, but it's just too risky. I don't want to embarrass myself falling. Like, I'm not even so concerned about getting hurt, but like the embarrassment, no thank you. And a lot of like sneakers, Converse, shoes like that also are hella slippery during winter. So you might want to invest in some proper winter shoes. There's also like cute fashionable options there, so I don't think you have to sacrifice your style for this. But definitely if you want to avoid falling, then try to find shoes with more grippy like soles. Next one, winter sport items or equipment for winter activities. Doing sports and staying active during winter, obviously a great thing, but you probably, if you're not someone who really loves those sports or activities, like, I would maybe not buy the equipment for them. Like, I'm talking ice skates, snowboard, skis, sleighs, whatever you can think of. If you're only going to do that one time, or even one time during winter, or maybe every other winter, because most places you can, at least where I live, most places where you can do these activities, you can also rent the equipment needed. Like if you're gonna go ice skating once, you don't need to buy ice skates that potentially cost like 100 euros for you to just do it the one time and realize this wasn't for me, and now you just have the skates lying around. Even more so with activities like snowboarding and skiing also require a lot of equipment, not just like a snowboard, but you need a helmet, you need probably a specialized outfit, whatever. That's a lot of stuff to keep around in your house for things you do maybe once a year, not even once a year. If you have the space and you know you really love the sport and want to have your own equipment, then of course, but I don't really see why you would need to own the things if you're just doing it once, because those things cost a lot of money and then storing them is a hassle, and you could just rent them from the places you can go snowboarding. You can rent all the equipment there, so that's probably gonna save you money, and that's going to be more environmentally friendly, help the planet. We don't have to produce as many things, and also it's saving you the hassle of storing all that stuff and being annoyed that you don't have any space anymore because you've all these things accumulated in your house. Like, of course, if you go like snowboarding every week, then yes, of course, own your own equipment, take care of your own equipment, customize it to you. But if you're like a casual enjoyer of winter sports, then you probably don't need to own the items or equipment needed for that. The next thing I have on my list is seasonal decor. This of course works for every season, and I don't mean that like you shouldn't decorate your house for Christmas or a New Year's party or anything. Of course, those things bring joy to people. I'm all for that. I think like social media creates a lot of pressure to constantly be evolving your space and living situation to match the seasons. Like you need, I don't know, snow printed pillows during the winter, and then you need like a pastel colors during the spring. But if you're not a person that naturally loves decorating your house or enjoys switching these things, then like you don't have to. It's better for, again, our planet if we have one thing that we keep around for a long time, then rather than switching it up every season. For someone like me, I struggle to like keep my house clean and have like time to organize my things all the time. So adding the hassle of like having to be on top of seasonal decor, it's just like weighs on me mentally more than it has to gives me an extra thing to worry about that I'd rather not deal with. So if you're the same, then you don't have to. You can just keep your house the same all year around. I think social media gives like a warped perspective on how much you need to be buying and changing things up constantly and using. So basically do what's natural for you. If you love to decorate all the time, of course go for it. It probably is like a hobby, it brings joy. I'm not going to take that away from you. But if you don't really want to, you don't really have to. Basically, my last point could be used on all of these points I've had is not, well, you're going to regret not buying things used. Okay, you might not exactly regret not buying things used, but if you're trying to save money, you want to be friendly to our planet, buying things used is a great alternative, because then we don't have to keep producing more and more and more stuff, because everyone needs to constantly buy a new thing when charity shops, second-hand markets are already full of similar, if not the same items. For example, I just got myself a new winter coat, and because I just didn't like the one I had before, I'm going to sell that one. But like winter coats are expensive if they're warm and they're good quality. They are going to cost upwards of 100 euros, maybe even 500 or more. So for a long time I was hesitant to buy a new coat. And I realized I could just buy one from a second-hand market, and I found like my dream jacket, or like that matched all my requirements for a winter jacket with only like 20 euros. So that's an insane savings for me. So yay me, more money for me to use for other things. I'm supporting a cyclical economy and like not producing new stuff all the time. So I think that choice is better for environment. And what I'm getting at is that you can basically find anything, everything and anything you can think of in a second-hand market. I've in recent years moved more and more to buying things second-hand, because I used to like shopping things new all the time. So I don't often remember to think that you could find things second-hand. But I've tried to change my mindset over the years to first think of second-hand options rather than new. And you can really, honestly, like I said, find anything, all kinds of clothes, shoes, the winter equipment I talked about. If you want to buy a snowboard or whatever, you're gonna save a lot of money if you buy it second-hand. Cars can be bought used. Basically anything I listed in this video you can find second-hand, and you can find stuff that's almost new that someone maybe made a regretful purchase of, and you can keep that item at home so it doesn't end up in a landfill. So I think that's a good thing, right? The only thing I would not buy second-hand is like makeup, cosmetics, obviously, like things that require good hygiene, but like everyday usable items you can find such good quality, so nice things second-hand with such cheap prices. So like why wouldn't you really use that option if it's available? And even if you live in a more maybe rural area with not a lot of like cool vintage stores and stuff, that you feel like you're not finding good used fashionable things in your town, there's so many online options now for second-hand clothes, like I don't know, Depop, Vinted, stuff like that, that you can buy things from all over the world. I wouldn't necessarily recommend buying from other countries because that the package delivery is an environmental burden, but like that's a whole other video. But basically the options are available to you. You can order online second-hand items. You don't really have an excuse not to use second-hand, so it's like your choice obviously if you want to buy new things or not. But I would strongly encourage everyone to at least look for the second-hand options before buying something new. Anyway, this concludes my list of things you might regret buying this winter. Let me know in the comments if there's anything I missed or if you have any good tips. Anyway, like and subscribe and do all the things, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye!